Hello, welcome to another episode of the Cool Tools Show and Tell. Our special guest this week is Ben Gold. Hey Ben, would you like to introduce yourself to our listeners and watchers?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Ben. I'm a product designer based in New York City. I work right now I work at big tech. Currently, I work at Microsoft. Prior to this, I worked at Google, worked at Tumblr and a bunch of startups around the city doing mostly digital product design, service design. Been doing this for like 12 plus years. So yeah, that's the long and short of it.
Well, thank you. Thank you for coming on to the show and sharing some of your favorite tools with us. I know you have a bunch, but why don't you start with your favorite one? Number one, what's a tool that
Yeah.
you like to know about?
So this first one, I think, is definitely one of my like top favorite tools. I almost found it randomly. I got really
Well, let me
into.
just describe it for those who
Sure.
are listening. So it looks like it's a knife. Looks
Yes.
like it's a retractable knife. It looks sort of like maybe the size of like a pencil or pen. It's flat. It's like one of those cheap box cutters that would have a retractable blade in it, but it's more of an angled like a scalpel blade. But that's what it looks like. It looks like a kind of an elegant version of a plastic box knife.
Right. So this is basically probably like the finest box knife you can imagine because it's not actually like a box knife, box cutter knife. It's actually using scalpel blades, and it's from this company Morton, who is one of like the leading manufacturers of of scalpel blades. They're based in Sheffield, England, and mostly they sell medical products, sterile products. I found them because I got really into the great YouTube channel Baumgartner Restorations, where he restores art, and he was using a scalpel in a lot of them instead of like a regular X-Acto knife or craft knife. And I was like, oh, I really want to try that. And then when I started looking into it, I found that unlike X-Acto knives, where there's only a few different blade profiles to choose from, in the world of scalpels, there's a bunch of different shapes and sizes and angles and curves and things like that. And so I started off by buying just like a standard regular scalpel blade, like the kind that you'd seen on TV. And then I was in Edinburgh, Scotland, and I walked into a craft supply store. You can get this other places. This screen I'm sharing happens to be the website of the manufacturer. They so you can get it from a lot of different places. I think, unfortunately, I do think they are more readily available in the UK, but blades are really easy to come by, and really any scalpel is like a really great craft knife. I find that they're far superior. Like the blades are usually nice stainless steel, but they also make them in carbon steel. They make ones that are sterile. They have a bunch of different like tiny blade profiles and things. Like the type that you see in movies and TV is like a number 10 blade, which is sort of the curved one with a number 3 handle, which is actually funny because doctors don't really use that. They mostly use what's like a number 15 blade, which is actually like a smaller version of it. I learned way too much about blades, things like that when I got into this. But it's just a really great knife to have. It's really nice to change the blades out. Also, unlike X-Acto knives, the blades don't like kind of screw in. They sort of like slot in using tension, which means that they don't really come loose. So it's more of a deliberate action if you want to take them out. So it's just like a really nice blade to have. And then this sort of retractable version, it makes it portable and pocketable.
Right.
So like I found myself carrying this thing around as if it was my like everyday carry pocket knife.
So even though those blades have a slot that looks similar to an X-Acto, you can't use the surgical blades on an X-Acto knife.
No, you need a you'll like if you actually look into it, there's like some that are more common. I think there's like a big size and a small size and different handle sizes. It's not as confusing as I might be making it sound, but it's sort of this sort of tension thing where the blade kind of has this sort of like lock-in mechanism. It's actually really brilliant, and it's funny that it's only used in real surgical blades, and X-Acto went another way. I wonder if it's like patent related or something.
Yeah. I would imagine, knowing nothing about this, that you should be able to find some kind of a handle for those scalpel blades that was more like a round X-Acto handle.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, if you think about like an X-Acto blade, it's mostly like a pin vise with a slit in it anyway.
Right,
So
right.
yeah, the I think having the option to purchase sterile blades too is obviously no one should be doing self-surgery or anything like
Mhm.
that. But if you have like a splinter or something like
Mhm.
that, it's really nice to know that, oh,
Yeah.
this is a blade fresh from the package and I'm not
Right.
going to like give
Right.
myself a
Right.
disease.
A less elegant alternative, which is what I have been doing, is buying disposable surgical blades,
Hmm. Which the
which
handles built in.
yeah, handles are built in. They're very cheap in that sense. The
Yeah.
handles anyway. They're made for one use, but I get, they last pretty long if you're just cutting foam core or board or whatever.
Yeah.
They can go on for forever. But that's it, ecologically, that's not as sound. But it is, if you want to, I put it this way, if you want to dip into this world of
Right.
surgical blades, buying some cheap disposable ones on Amazon is a good way to get into it.
Absolutely. I think I found that I liked the heft of the retractable handle even like more so than the standard handle. I think that's like one of the nice things about it. I like a heavy sort of blade. But yeah, the retractable, I think the first one I bought was one of those retractable ones. And I will say that I like economically, I do think the blades in these are often more expensive if you get like the real made in England ones, but you can find tons of people made in China, made in India, all these other places that honestly are basically the same. So
Okay, and the thing you'd be searching for are surgical blades.
yeah, just a scalpel. You can type in.
Scalpel
There's other
blades.
people that make retractable scalpels as well. So,
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's really great. Okay. So then what's the second choice for you?
so this is what looks like in my opinion, a very nice fountain pen. I don't exactly like the style here. It comes in a lot of other different styles, and you can see the prices here. They're
Right. It's
not.
a fountain pen. It's sort of a kind of a tubular with torpedo shaped
Yes.
fountain pen with a nib, and it has a kind of a classic fountain pen shape, I would say. Is that about right?
Yeah, except the nib, as you can see, is a lot smaller, and it also has this sort of plunger on the top, like a sort of retractable pen. Um, and I think there's not a ton of people that make sort of like fine retractable fountain pens.
And that's what this is.
Yes.
What this is a retractable fountain pen. So instead of
Yes.
having a cap, you plunge the end and it retracts like a ballpoint pen. It
Yeah.
retracts the tip. And then do
Yeah.
you have to then cap the tip as well after you?
No.
Okay.
So that's part of what makes the vanishing point like it's if you like search for best retractable fountain pen, this is what comes up. This is like it's made by Pilot, who it makes tons of wonderful pens. As you can see, it's not the cheapest pen. They range anywhere between like $150 to $200 to even more, depending on the finishes and the materials. Um, so I fountain pens. If you haven't used a fountain pen for anyone watching this, you should definitely try it at least once because they're a lot of fun and sort of a joy to write with. There's much cheaper ways to get into it. There's disposable ones. There's like ones like the Lamy Safari, which I think is usually $30 or less, which is a German built, like beautiful pen. This one is like if you've been into it for a while and you want something that you can use sort of as an everyday pen and you don't have to worry about it leaking or drying out or whatever. This is definitely the way to go is it has sort of like a very ingenious patented way that the nib comes in and then sort of goes into like a little compartment with like a door, which keeps it from drying out, which means that you can kind of use it almost like not indefinitely because it's not like airtight, but you really don't have to worry about it drying out. Like I had one of these, I kind of like forgot it in a bag and then rediscovered it and found that the ink was still working, which doesn't happen with like a lot of fountain pens that are capped. And also because this is sort of on the higher end too, the materials it's made out of are really very nice. So I think when you get into fountain pens, which is definitely a nerdy thing to get into, but you'll find that there's the nibs come in a bunch of different materials. Some are made out of stainless steel, some are made out of titanium, some are made out of a lot of things. I think this nib is a gold plated, or actually it says it's an 18 karat gold nib. So I think
Well,
which gold is a very flexible material, which gives you a really fine writing
mm,
surface. It's very smooth, and you can tell the difference. Um, and it's just like if you wanted to have one fountain pen, which I think anyone that is spending this much money on a pen probably is someone that like likes collecting pens anyway. So they probably don't have just one fountain pen. But like, if you want a way to use a fountain pen on a daily basis, this is definitely like a great way to go. And Pilot makes cartridges for it that make it also like even more convenient. But I think it also comes with what's called a converter, which allows you to suck up ink from an inkwell and use your own inks if you want. But it's just like, and also this sort of like all black version, this black matte version is just like really pretty.
so why don't you convey to us the particular benefits that you see of fountain pens in general over, let's say, a gel pen.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, it's a lot of it is sort of just like it is definitely like a luxury kind of thing. It is something that is like, yes, is it can I really sell the value of why someone should buy a $200 pen versus
No,
just
no,
getting like,
no. Actually, I don't actually don't want you to. So I just want to hear from you. For you,
yeah.
why do you use? Why? What joy do you find in using a fountain pen?
I think personally, what I really like about it is I find that my handwriting looks better with it. I find that it just feels really nice to write with. Like I think you partly I'm a designer, artist kind of person. And so I kind of enjoy the fact that you can adjust your line width by using different versions of pressure. You can choose different inks and ink colors and stuff. And there is sort of that enthusiast aspect of it that I think is like, oh, you can get really into inks and find like, here's a black ink that I really like that's better than this other black ink, or here's a blue black ink or something
Uh-huh.
like that. But I think more than anything, no matter what fountain pen you try, it's really the feeling of it
Uh-huh.
that is like super, super nice. It's just it like it makes you want to keep writing.
Okay. And so my I'm not familiar with fountain pens. My idea was that it kind of flows. It kind of glides across the paper much easier than one where maybe friction is part of what it has to. Maybe the pen has to have more friction in order to deliver the ink in a gel pen versus a fountain pen. It's just kind of flowing out easier, so it takes less pressure. Is that it?
Yeah, so I think like a gel pen or a ballpoint pen even has ink that is a lot more viscous.
Okay.
So versus the ink in a fountain pen versus also like a roller ball. A roller ball is also a really nice pen, which has a lot like the ink is almost has the sort of fluidity of water. So, as soon as it touches that paper, it starts to get absorbed,
Mm-hmm.
um, which means that it's like, you know, it's either it's flowing or it's not,
Okay.
versus a pen where you might have to like, go around on the page a few times to get a line to come out or something, or it sort of leads you to write in a different way.
Okay.
It's almost more like a brush in some ways.
Sure. Sure. Well, that's great. It does sound like that if you have one that's retractable and doesn't dry out, that would be a huge advantage. Do you feel confident enough about the closure to actually put it in like a shirt pocket without it?
So one of the most brilliant pieces of its design is that if you actually look, the pocket clip
Yeah.
is the backwards.
Ah, so you can't put it in there.
Yeah, you can't put it down, which is great. Uh, but I have actually put it down and haven't had any issues. But I just like that they designed it that way.
Okay, that's cool. Okay. All right, great. So Ben, that's a great one. Second one. So how about a third cool tool?
Sure. The third one is this one. So this is the Paolini pocket rules. I will admit that this is one that I own, and I mostly own it because I really like the company that makes it, and the tool is really neat. But it's not one that I've used a ton. But I do think it's a great product for someone It's a really brilliant design. It is
Uh-huh.
a this company Woodpeckers makes a lot of tools for
Right,
woodworking,
right.
and they have this one-time tool thing where they make
Uh-huh.
these one tools. And I got like I was like kind of into woodworking. I had a friend that was into woodworking, and I went to their website and I was just like, I love the aesthetic of everything they make. I really want to buy something, but like I don't have a woodworking shop, and so
Oh, okay.
I bought one of these, which is one of the cheapest
You
items
bought one of these just because the design was so beautiful.
basically. And then when I got it, I was like, this thing is actually really nice. I think I'm trying to, they have tons of different versions of it, of different
Okay.
lengths, different units. I think the one that I have has both metric and imperial units on it, and it's 6 inches. And so, first of all, it's a really nice stainless steel ruler, which is nice. You
Hmm.
use a straight edge, but you see that it has sort of this cut in it because you can take this sort of straight edge piece off of it and then kind of use it as like a little like
Right,
T square or like
right,
vertically.
right. So I wanted to, again to describe to those who are listening only. So we have some metal 6-inch rulers that are made out of very rigid metal with a slide on them with knurled set screws that you can
Mm-hmm.
kind of set to um, keep them to work like almost like a right angle, but maybe not like an L. It's a little bit more like I don't know a dotted I, and but it looks like the that little slider can also swivel 90 degrees if I am understanding the design right.
Well, it doesn't swivel; it kind of comes out, and then there's like an inset piece
Okay,
in it that
all
you
right,
put it into,
right,
which then allows the ruler to then stand up on end,
okay,
or not on end, I guess on the edge.
on edge, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, and some of them are kind of your typical silver metal colors, but others are they're kind of branded red, um, enameled,
I think they're anodized aluminum.
anodized aluminum. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, and I think this company is like their website's really fun to look at because they make really like striking, beautiful products. I found that there's a lot of companies in the woodworking industry that makes a lot of these like very unique purpose-built tools that are like very high quality, very well made. And this company is definitely one of them, Woodpeckers. Um, but this one is, I think, a neat tool that anyone really could get value out of it. Part of why it stands on end is you can, in the picture, I'll describe it as on the sort of end of the ruler is like a 1 inch thing. So you
Height.
can
So you can use
height.
yeah, you can use measure the heights of things when this thing is standing. So there's all four edges of the ruler are being used.
Yeah, which I think if you look at, I think this is a nice, I think there's a lot of people that have benefit for like an everyday carry ruler. And I think between the sort of like um, sliding straight edge aspect of this, plus this
Mhm.
sort of like vertical or stand aspect of it, I think this is a
Right,
pretty versatile tool. And also like the large range of materials available for it.
right.
Uh, and it's also like all made in the US too, which is another nice thing too.
Right. And then if maybe you can send us the link for the one that had the dual scale of
Yeah.
metric as well as standard. Um, okay. So Ben, what's a fourth tool for you?
Yeah. The fourth one, a tool is I think a very broad word. This one is I think I forgot that this is mostly an audio podcast, so I'll describe it because you've done such a great job with that. It is a well, this is actually the 4 one. I have the 8 one, but basically it is a piece of metal with sort of hooks that kind of tilt out of it, and a piece of wood of various materials that screws into the wall vertically and has hooks that come out of it. The one that I'm showing here has 4 hooks. So when there's nothing in it, it's actually pretty flat.
Right. So it's like a board. It's a long board, maybe I
Yeah,
don't know, six inches wide, maybe less, and
it's
then and
yeah,
slotted in the board in the down the middle of the board, going lengthwise in a slot is a are these hooks which look like they can slide up and down. Oh, so maybe it's not a board, maybe it's more like a square channel.
Yeah. So I changed the link. The one that I'm showing now is actually the one that I own, which is sort of it's kind of like a triangular piece of wood
Oh, okay.
that has 8 hooks in total. I'm trying to find one that actually shows you the whole thing. There it is.
Okay.
Um, and
Uh-huh. So the hooks, okay, the hooks come out. So yeah, so it's a very well designed piece of furniture. It's a coat hook or a clothes hook that runs vertical
yeah,
with as you said, 8 hooks that are normally and not in use. They're flat and flush
yeah,
against the surface, and then they kind of swing out
yeah,
when in use.
yes. And the reason that this is one of my picks and that I it sort of found this thing at all was I live in New York in a a modest sized apartment, not a lot of floor space for a traditional sort of coat hook, and in the entryway not a lot of wall space. And I had people come over, including like the person I was seeing at the time, would come over and would just like put all of her stuff, jacket, backpack, whatever, just on the floor. And I
So
have
I
a
need
cat.
something.
Yeah, I have a
Yeah,
cat. He's 16 years old, and he, has a tendency to sometimes pee on things.
yeah,
And I was just like, I would see this happen, I'd get so nervous, and I would like, have to put it on furniture or something like that. And I was like,
yeah.
I wanted something that was nice, that was out of the way when it needed to be out of the way, and that was also just sort of like very aesthetically pleasing. I have a lot of sort of like mid-century modern stuff in my apartment and things like that. And I searched Google for like vertical coat rack, and I found this in like Google shopping results of all things, which is mostly ad based. So I'm saying this as
Mhm.
someone that worked at Google. So I was not expecting much, and I found it on. I think the one that I found was on some fancy furniture place out of California. I will say that this product is not inexpensive. I think they show on the website it goes for around 300 euros.
Mhm.
Is and it is made in Denmark. The materials, it comes in a ton of different wood finishes. The hooks in it are made out of like machined aluminum. It does feel super premium, and it solves what I think is like like if you have this issue that I had where I didn't have a lot of space for it, it solved the problem perfectly. It looks beautiful. The sort of angled out aspect of it is super nice, where it's sort of this pyramid off the wall. And I couldn't find anything else like it. Like I kept trying to find cheaper alternatives, and I like looked for like 2 months to try to find cheaper alternatives, and I couldn't find anything. And I just finally said, like, I got to do it. I got to get it. And I've been so happy with it, and I use it all the time for hanging bags when I come in. I use it for like, if I'm cleaning up, you can like hang a trash bag off of it or something too. It's actually like I was worried when I got it that it would be, that it wouldn't be strong enough. And I
Mhm.
think I found like a company that resells it, and they show like a little kid in a tote bag like hanging off of it. Like they like it actually weighs a lot. And it's such a weird thing because this company, like, this is like what they make. I think they mostly make horizontal versions of it.
Mm.
Um, but this vertical one, it's like actually like it's like kind of hidden on their website, and I think it's the best product that they make. And yeah, I honestly, it's one of these things that every time I use it or every time I look at it, it just like makes me really happy because it like
Yeah.
solved the problem so perfectly and it's beautiful.
That's the best kind. That's the best.
Totally.
That's the best tool. Um, well, that's really great. Thank you, Ben, for those. What a great tour.
Yeah.
Um, what's something you want to share with our audience? What's exciting you these days?
Yeah, I mean, so my work stuff is what I spend a lot of my time on, for better or for worse. These days, I'm at Microsoft working on a lot of Microsoft's web experience features, so things like Bing and Edge and stuff like that. Actually working on a lot of commerce and shopping features, so hopefully, uh, making it will help make finding cool tools even easier going
Okay.
forward. Um, I have some personal projects and stuff that I've spent time on. I had a project called Ben's Door, which was basically a weird art project I made with my friend Jacob. where it took a picture of me every time I opened my door and posted it online. And then you could buy merch with it on. And that project sort of died, but then it led to this Friends project. My friend Noah Kalina, who is Noah's best known for, he made that video where he took a picture of himself every day and it's set to piano music.
Mm-hmm.
He was inspired by my thing, and he made a website called chickens.photos, which took pictures of his chickens and his photo coop and his chicken coop, and then sold them as NFTs. And but my friend Jacob and I think have talked about trying to make a wallet, like a minimalist wallet. So
You mean like a physical wallet or NFT wallet or crypto wallet?
Physical wallet. I'm personally, I'm not a big crypto guy.
Okay. Well, you have to be careful these days.
No, I know. Yeah. So we've been talking about that, and I think we've been playing around with things like that. I'll probably post about it when if it ever gets off the ground. I started like emailing companies that do like sell elastics for military use, like mil-spec elastics, because thinking like the perfect minimalist wallet is basically like a band that goes around your cards.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to figure out how to put like an air tag in there in a way that's not bulky too. So hopefully that'll be my cool tool in the future when that happens. But
well, I hope that works. That'd be a fantastic adventure.
Hopefully, yeah. I'm definitely like personally a connoisseur of cool things. I think your website is one of my favorites just because I discover so much stuff. I think I discovered CountyCom through Cool Tools, and I've spent way too much money with them. So thank you, and I hate you. But yeah, I think I definitely would love to make my own like beautiful product at some point.
Well, that's really great. We'll include a link to your site if you have a site right now, and the tools that you mentioned. So thank you for all those. Maybe send an updated pen link as well, and we'll post that. So Ben, thank you for this wonderful tour of your favorite tools. I'm so delighted that you shared them with us. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for letting me.
This year, our Cool Tools blog will be 20 years old, which means we've been posting something new every day for 20 years. It's only possible because of the very engaged and knowledgeable readers and listeners like yourself. You've kept this place going, and we are very grateful for you. With this idea of 20 years in mind, we decided to try an experiment this year. And I'm inviting our guests and listeners to join me on our Cool Tool Show and Tell, which is the program that you're listening to right now. So if you feel you'd make a good guest on this podcast and have 4 uncommon tools that you'd like to share with us, please sign up on our form on the website, and we'll see about inviting you. You must be comfortable talking on a video, and you need to have some tools that you can show. We record on, as you know, on Zoom. We do a YouTube version, a video version of it, as well as an audible version. Fill out the form if you're interested, and list your 4 cool tools, and we'll see if there's a good fit. The applications aren't guaranteed in any way, and we're looking at tools that are new to us and appropriate tools, and whether the times will work for you. So we're really interested in hearing from people all over the world, not just in the US, although the tools have to be available online, easily available online. And if you are a longtime listener, you kind of know what the definition of our tools are. They're very broad. They can be anything that's handy, from something in the kitchen to something you use to travel, to a workshop, to something professional that we may not know about. We're really interested in things that we don't know anything about. So this is an open invitation. We'll give it a try. If you think you make a good guest for this podcast, fill out the form. There'll be a link somewhere on our website. And we look forward to chatting with you. Thank you.